We got some more information on the firing of Brian Flores. He was let go by the Miami Dolphins. There's a great article by Ben Solak titled, "The Dolphins Didn't Fire Brian Flores Because of His Coaching." That article is on The Ringer. Hey, Ben, well done, my man. That's great reporting. It's a great article. There's not a lot of great written sports journalism anymore, and this is some really good stuff there. So the article acknowledges and points out that Brian Flores overachieved in Miami. He won games that he probably should not have won given the lack of talent in Miami. But Brian Flores did not agree with ownership on the quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa. And owner Stephen Ross and GM Chris Grier, they liked Tua. They were team Tua Tagovailoa. And during the draft process, apparently, Brian Flores really, really wanted Justin Herbert. Can you blame him? Look, I looking back now, I was totally wrong. I remember not being that excited about Justin Herbert. Totally wrong. And the article characterizes Brian Flores as abrasive. He has struggled to hire offensive coaches. He had 4 offensive coordinators in 3 years. And in the 3 years Brian Flores was in Miami, they never really had a good offense. You could blame the quarterback, but they had Josh Rosen. They didn't develop him. They had Ryan Fitzpatrick. They never could commit to Tua. They were always back and forth with Tua and Jacoby Brissett, Tua, Ryan Fitzpatrick. And apparently Brian Flores did not build a good relationship with his GM, Chris Grier, or his quarterback, Tua. And he kind of lost the game of politics and people skills when it came to his coaching in Miami. Now, great article. Go read it. It's like I read it 3 times. There's a lot of really good stuff. I think stuff that can help you for the rest of your life and outside of football for sure. But I want to share my commentary because I read this and thought, man, the minute that what Brian Flores viewed as the wrong quarterback was drafted by his team in Miami, Brian Flores probably in a best case scenario should have walked away and realized, I'm not your coach. And I actually wonder if Brian Flores, when they picked Tua over Justin Herbert, in his heart, deep inside, he had this feeling of, I don't want to be here. Like they picked a guy I don't want. I've got a quarterback now I don't want. We passed on the quarterback I really wanted. And as things worked out, at least Brian Flores could not have left at that moment. So remember, back in the day, because the way Brian Flores has been fired now, he leaves with good standing in the NFL. He's probably going to get another head coaching opportunity in the future. If Brian Flores had stepped down the minute they drafted Tua, he would have been, after 1 year, viewed as a coach who was 5-11, then quit on his football team, and probably would not have gotten another head coaching job. So I think it's very possible and likely Brian Flores felt trapped in Miami. But he did not want Tua. And that's a big problem because knowing what I know now, I am glad for his sake and for the sake of Miami that he's not coaching there anymore. Now, let's be very clear about one thing. Brian Flores is a good head coach. Does he have a hard time relating to the offensive side of the football? It appears so. He needs to figure out the offensive coordinator part of the game and hire someone who he trusts and is good, and ideally get a good quarterback. I would love to see Brian Flores in Seattle. But one thing is clear about Brian Flores. He gets the most out of his roster. He can, especially on defense, really rally people, bring them together. And I don't even know that there's no guarantee that if Justin Herbert had gone to Miami, that he would be the same success as he is in LA. Miami has no offensive line. They had bad coaching on offense. Like, we don't know that Justin Herbert would be, he'd be good. Like, we'd be like, oh my gosh, look at that throw. He'd be like very raw and talented, but he may not be one of the very best quarterbacks in the entire NFL or viewed that way, the way he is now, because he would have had to work with the same garbage around him that Tua's had to work with. And Tua is never going to compare very well to Justin Herbert because Herbert is a much, much more talented quarterback and naturally can run, can throw, can make throws to people in his face. Literally, I saw him on Sunday, I saw him throw a defender aside and throw a ball downfield, and I was just like, oh my goodness. It was ridiculous. Now, for Brian Flores and ownership and management to not agree on the quarterback is a massive, massive problem, and it explains a lot. They did not have the same goals. It was a bad fit. It's kind of like, I don't know, like marrying someone who wants kids when you really don't want kids. You're not headed in the same direction. And I have been in relationships where, it's a bad fit and you don't want the same things in your future. And so I speak from experience. What that does is leads to a constant feeling of disappointment. I would imagine Brian Flores was constantly disappointed. He would watch Chargers highlights and go, oh my God, we could have had that kid. I'm watching Justin Herbert make throw after throw after throw. We could have had that guy, and instead we have Tua. And he goes to practice every day, watches Tua be okay, and is like, I just imagine, I can hear the pain in that story. Brian Flores, every day being disappointed in what he has to work with and what he has to deal with every day. Being like, this isn't what I want, but I'm stuck here. I can't leave. And I tell you, I know what that feels like. Imagine buying a house you hate. Can you imagine that? You're like, I hate the kitchen. I hate the balcony. I hate the neighborhood. I hate the bathroom. I hate the living room. Imagine like if you really hated where you lived. And then your partner, the person you're supposed to work with and collaborate with every single day, imagine if your partner wanted you to love the house because they loved it. And they're upset that you don't love the kitchen and the bathroom and whatever. It was never going to work. You can't have a GM that wants a quarterback and a coach that doesn't. It doesn't happen. And then especially, like I said, when Justin Herbert is very quickly showing himself to be one of the best quarterbacks in the entire NFL, let alone young quarterbacks, I cannot imagine how much that hurt the trust between the coach, Brian Flores, the owner, and the GM, Chris Greer. Those guys have to be on the same page. And I like Tua. I have a Tua shirt. I live in Hawaii. Tua is one of my favorite human beings in the football world, and I am rooting for him. I want Tua to do well. However, I am not delusional. I'm not crazy. I am a fan of Tua, but I'm also an analyst who can watch with my eyeballs and go, yeah, they don't really compare. Justin Herbert is a head and shoulders better quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa. And I would rather, in a heartbeat, I would way rather build around Justin Herbert than Tua. And that's painful to say, maybe, but that's true. Now, this article did confirm what I believed the minute I saw that Brian Flores had been fired, which is that part of the firing of Brian Flores was that Miami's committing to Tua. They want to hire someone who can help to develop him and build around him. And by the way, that's not a terrible plan. Tua has limited capability. He's not got the biggest arm. He's not going to run around. Again, he's a bad comparison to Justin Herbert because Justin's got a massive arm, can run, do whatever he wants on a football field. If Tua's going to work, his comparison is maybe Drew Brees, a guy who is not as physically gifted, has to be really accurate, has to have great timing, has to master a defense, can't really run around. You got to give Tua a lot of help if you want Tua to work. And it sounds like management in Miami wants Tua to work. And so they're like, look, we got to get a coach who actually wants him. We got to get a good offensive line. We got to draft another receiver or two and get probably an offensive-minded coach who not only believes in Tua, but wants to build an offense specifically around the skill set of Tua. And if you do all the it's like a big, long checklist. If you do the 20 things required on a checklist, you probably are going to get a good scenario for Tua where he can maximize his potential. That did not appear to be happening under Brian Flores. Now, I don't know if a new coach can win with Tua. Again, need a new offensive line, another stud receiver. But I am sure of one thing. I am very, very confident of one thing. After reading this article, after doing some more research, talking to some more people, Tua was not going to work with Brian Flores. Brian Flores didn't want him. There's nothing more tragic than being a head coach with a team that's invested, management invested in a quarterback that you don't want. That was never going to work. And that disappointment on a day-to-day basis working with someone leaks out. People can tell when you're disappointed in them. And a great example of the opposite of that, look at the Jets head coach, Robert Saleh. He's a defensive-minded head coach. He does not coach quarterbacks, but he meets with his young quarterback, Zach Wilson, all the time. And there's legendary reports about how they meet and talk about football for hours. And the defensive mind of Robert Saleh gives whatever knowledge he can to the young rookie quarterback, Zach Wilson. We never heard stories like that from Tua. In fact, the times we heard Tua talk about meeting with Brian Flores, it sounded like he gave that quote like, "I don't not feel wanted," and you're like, "What does that even mean?" It's a double negative. You're like, "So you wait, what?" Like they didn't sound like it had a great budding relationship where Brian Flores is like trying to offer whatever knowledge he had, and it sounded like Brian Flores was exhausted and tired of dealing with him. And so the big lesson here is that make sure you're on the same page. When you collaborate with people, make sure you have the same goals, the same values. Hey, fit matters. There's a better fit for you than others. And some people, you might like them a lot, especially in relationships. You might really love someone, but they're not a good fit for you. Not everybody's a good fit. And by the way, making it work with someone who's a bad fit is often disappointing. And that disappointment is something that I've experienced firsthand. It's not fun. Finding someone who's a good fit where you align, that right there is super rewarding. And so Brian Flores and Miami, they're better off apart. So is Tua, everybody there. And I'm excited for the future of Brian Flores. And if Miami really wants to work with Tua, they now have an opportunity to hire somebody and build a team around Tua the way that Brian Flores sounded like he really wasn't willing to or desired doing. So, again, it's weird, but it now makes sense. And I think actually with that kind of context, it's a good thing that Miami parted ways with their, again, a good head coach, Brian Flores. But winning games and being good doesn't mean he's a good fit for you. And, at the end of the day, the reality is it sounded like Miami chose to commit to Tua over Brian Flores. Is that a mistake? I don't know. Quite possibly. But I'm excited to see what both of them do moving forward. And we'll revisit this in the future because someday we'll go, well, how did it work out with Tua? Maybe Tua turns into a great quarterback in the next couple of years, and maybe Brian Flores becomes a great head coach somewhere else. And I'd love to see that, where they both win. Although I've learned from the past, it's usually one side wins and one side does not. And so I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping they both go their separate ways and are very successful by themselves. But I know from doing this for now years and years that very rarely does happen. So we'll see which side wins the breakup.